Um, let's go on to the next big challenge that you all talked about in your pre-survey, and that was this question around growth and development, succession planning, and retention. Right, those are the areas where there's a lot of challenges you're facing. Not easy for any organization. Right, these come up frequently with the business community as well. I'm going to assert and argue that when you think about something like succession planning and the challenges of succession planning or retention, the real key to addressing those problems is to work on the growth and development part. Right? If you're helping your staff develop, then you're going to have more people who could be part of your succession plan. Part of the issue with succession plans is you don't have enough people who are ready to take on bigger roles. So growth and development helps that. I'll also say that if you're helping your team grow and develop, that is one of the big sources of job satisfaction, right? So it can help with the retention issue as well. So we're going to focus on growth and development in the next few minutes, and then in your breakout group discussions. So what are the challenges? What's hard about developing people? This group, I know many of you are running very, very efficient organizations, right? So you don't have big teams. You may have a lot of volunteers, but your teams themselves, this is the breakdown of the people we have here in the room, right? So many of you are working with teams of less than 20 people. And my guess is in your team, maybe you have someone that's helping with human resources, but you probably don't have someone that's just doing growth and development or training for your employees, right? So you need to figure out other ways to do that. Even the organizations with 51 to 100 people, my guess is, you're not really having someone who's only focused on training and development. So what I wanted to talk about is just what are the things that you could do, right? And things that don't, you're not going to get blocked by these challenges and barriers, right? Which is, what is it? You might not know how to do it. You might feel like you're not confident in developing your people and helping them grow as staff members. You may not have enough time. You're all busy, probably doing multiple roles already. Not enough money to invest. Is it sending people out to training courses? Is that the only way to develop people? And not having the dedicated staff. So what can you do that's practical, that's you can fit into your day-to-day jobs, you can have your other people help do? That's kind of the question. So I'm going to share a little bit of research, and the research was done on business executives and how business executives develop over their careers. It was understanding from the point of view of people in their kind of 40s, 50s, and beyond, what were the things that really helped them to learn and grow and become more effective in their jobs and as leaders. And the answer was kind of surprising, but also when you think about it, makes a lot of sense. So the research showed that the most impactful learning and development happened in three areas. And 70% of what was cited as really helping people grow and develop were the experiences they had. So I think that's good news, right? Because when you think about staff development, the actual jobs that they're doing, the projects that they're working on, the assignments they have, those turn out to be the most important part of growing and developing. Now, it's not just necessarily doing the same job over and over. It was important to have sort of new roles, right? Diverse roles to take on new challenges. Sometimes the experience of learning how to supervise someone else was a very impactful experience, right? And that was kind of 70% of what was cited as helping people develop. The other 20%, the next most important one, was people. And what the respondents in the research said is that, the people they were working with, and specifically their supervisor, would have a very big impact. Oftentimes it was a good supervisor that they looked up to and was a role model and they learned a lot from them. But other times it was having a tough supervisor to work with, and that also helped them with their learning, right? Now, as a MBA program director, the fact that education or training was 10% was, well, I mean, we don't, my students only spend a year in the program, so I don't expect it to be more than 10% for their overall development. They're working for many, many years. But training is part of it, right? Getting the education, learning about different ways of seeing things and doing things. And it's interesting, the training part, one of the things that people really said is it helped them build their self-confidence, right? It helped them understand that they could try new things. And in addition to the actual skills that they were learning, the confidence building from training sessions can also be a powerful developmental tool. So that's kind of how it breaks down. It's an easy, this is a bit simplified, but I find it helpful, and I think many of you will find it helpful just to think about this kind of 70-20-10 rule, right? When you're helping people and trying to help your teams grow. 70% is from the type of work experiences they have. So thinking about, can you have someone in your organization take on another assignment for next year, or what can you do to change what they're doing so they're challenged and they're forced to learn something new. The second is the people around them, right? How can you think about who they're working with, exposing them to different supervisors. And then 10, training can be part of that as well. But it's not just doing the work. What's really important here, and some of what we're doing together today is this idea, which is we don't learn from experience, right? Just doing stuff, we're not necessarily learning. But if you have the time to reflect on it, then you're really learning, right? So we learn from reflecting on our experiences. And this is where, making sure to build some time into your schedules to be silent and quiet and just away from all the responsibilities of your job can be really valuable. I know many of you probably do that, but it could be as a team, as an organization, taking an hour on every Friday afternoon to kind of just step back and think about how did the week go, what did we do well, what are things the team can do differently. Some of you may have heard of some of the new team management tools like Agile or Scrum. A big part of that is really just making sure that once every cycle of once a week, once every 2 weeks, the teams are taking time to reflect and think about how the team's working and how they're doing. So that reflection. This is also an area where coaching can be really helpful. Having either a friend, a professional coach, someone who can just help you reflect on your work experiences. It can contribute a lot, right? So that's an important part. I'll just share a few more ideas before we get into your groups about the type of reflection that can help your people on your team and in your organization. So this is one where you can think about different roles, right, that you need. And there are 4 roles that you can think about. And this is one where I'm taking it from a really good book that some of you may have read, Managing a Nonprofit Organization by Peter Drucker. He was talking with a nonprofit leader, and he asked the nonprofit leader, how do you develop people, right? And this nonprofit leader said, I make sure every staff member has 4 different roles or 4 different people around them who can do 4 different things, right? The first is mentoring, a mentor. So someone who's perhaps older, someone who's perhaps more experienced in the job, someone who can just provide that, the guidance on kind of how to think about their longer term development, what jobs to take, what assignments to take, providing that perspective. The second is the judge role. Now, I don't mean like the judge in terms of saying, you're guilty or not, or you're going to prison, but it's really just someone who can actually provide the feedback that people need, the feedback to know, was a job they did, was it good? Did it meet the standards that the organization wants? Or was there something about it that was not up to standard, right? And, this is an area for me where it's a personal kind of weakness for me, a personal development area, where, if I don't tell people, right, very clearly how they're doing, it's hard for them to grow. Something that, I remind myself, when I was younger, I really liked a lot of feedback. And I would ask people, and, I can see that in the junior people I work with as well, right? When I give them feedback, they really like it, and it's helping them grow. Now that I'm been around a bit more, it's like, I don't want to hear that feedback, right? But at least for the younger people, they want feedback. So that's an important role. Then there's the teacher role, right? Telling people, showing people how to really do their job, right? So having someone who's more knowledgeable, more expert at an area. Maybe it's not within your organization. Maybe it's someone, you can find through your board network, through your volunteer network, who you might ask, or maybe asking your volunteer to help someone in your team with something. And then the final one there, really, really important, being an encourager, right? And this is one where all of you as leaders in your organization play a very unique role, right? Because you're the ones who can really, encourage people, even if things are tough, even if they make a mistake, right? Even if they fail at something, you're the ones who can put that in perspective and say, don't worry about it, right? We're still, you're learning from it. You're going to keep going, and that role is also really important in helping people to grow and develop. So just a simple, I'm not going to show you all the numbers behind it or anything like that, but it's some simple roles you can think about for your development of your team. Okay. So a few thought starters for all of you. We're going to move into our next breakout discussion. And we'd like you to talk about two different topics. The first is you're just reflecting on your experience during the pandemic, you and your organization's experience. Very stressful experience for all of us, but how did you grow and develop during that time? What did you do that worked? Anything that did not work that you tried? What can we learn from that? The second is then thinking about a current challenge that you're facing. So something related to your team, helping your team develop and get better. If you have a challenge you're facing, share it with your group. And I think you'll find that people have either faced a similar situation or have some ideas that they can share. So we'd like you to get some good tips there. And then we'll do what we did similar to last time. We're going to just go around and collect some of the tips for broader sharing with everyone. Okay? So that's the next section, and see you in 40 minutes.